Hi, I'm Matt Howe. We're covering 15 issues in the final 15 days of the campaign. Today's day 9, and today's issue is workers' rights. As your senator, one of my top priorities will be policies to build a fair economy for working people. More than 60% of us live paycheck to paycheck, while corporations and banks make record profits and billionaires get richer. We live in the world's wealthiest nation, and is the world's most economically unequal nation. That's not accidental or because of the whims of free markets. That's the result of deliberate government policies. For example, here in North Carolina, CNBC named North Carolina as the best state for business. They called it a bipartisan success story. Meanwhile, Oxfam named North Carolina as the worst state for workers. I don't think I need to spell out that correlation to anyone. What we need is an economic bill of rights that ensures healthcare, housing, education, food, and jobs are human rights and are treated that way. An economic bill of rights is included in the Green New Deal. Realizing jobs as a human right starts off with a federal jobs guarantee. This means pursuing full employment through government policies to make sure every person who needs a job has one. Both Democrats and Republicans have made sure that there are always unemployed workers through economic policies that have made full employment impossible. This is one of the reasons wages have stagnated for almost my entire life. Government policies that mandate unemployment suppress wages, crush worker leverage, guarantee businesses reap record profits, and cause working families to fall farther and farther behind. We must raise the federal minimum wage to a true living wage. The minimum wage needs to be annually adjusted for the cost of living in each county, particularly for housing costs. This would allow working families to live and thrive in the communities where they work. In North Carolina, the average true living wage, tied to housing costs, is $19 an hour. That's based upon being able to afford a 2-bedroom apartment. In some parts of the state, it would be more than $19 an hour. In other parts, it would be less. This would also serve as a form of rent control and help us meet the reality of housing as a human right. People must be paid the value of their labor. We have an inverted and hollow economy because businesses prosper by not paying their workers enough. This helps lead to cycles of boom and bust, at least once a decade, when the bubble that is created by our hollow economy bursts, as we all know it inevitably does. Corporations and banks almost always get bailed out by the government. However, working people and their families pay a cost for each recession that lasts years, decades, and sometimes generations. Paying living wages is not only just and morally correct, but is economically imperative if we want to have a sustainable economy built on solid foundations, rather than what we have now, which mostly resembles a massive casino where Wall Street and the corporations it owns can't lose because they are backed by the U.S. government. The question is, who is backing us? Finally, we must support workers' rights to form unions and reverse the decades of both Democrat and Republican weakening and abuse of labor unions. We must get rid of so-called right-to-work laws and repeal laws like the Taft-Hartley Act and replace them with legislation that puts working people and their right to organize first. As well, we need to incentivize and subsidize employee ownership. As it's often said, if we aspire for democracy in our government, then why not democracy in our workplaces? For example, through public banking, we can promote worker ownership by giving workers the first right to buy out a company that is for sale, is going bankrupt, or is being outsourced. Another way is to make sure workers have the right to elect representatives to sit equally with management on a company's board of directors. There's a lot more to be said about workers' rights. I live in a state that is the worst state for workers in the U.S., and the U.S. is the worst place for workers in the developed world. Again, that's all deliberate. The only way that changes is for us to force it to change. I'm Matt Howe. I'll talk to you tomorrow.